What is up, everybody? Hey, welcome to Tuesday night Lines In Live. I'm your host, Justin Patrick, and with me is Mr. David Best from Primary Tackle. From Primary Tackle and SY Wilson. We're sponsored by Battleborn Batteries as well as Primary Tackle. We'll thank both of those great companies for supporting this show, making this all possible. David, man, we're getting into one of my favorite times of the year. We're going to be talking about some post-spawn fishing. A lot of things, a lot of fish coming and going, a lot of things happening, a lot of different patterns are in play right now for most of the country. And, for those anglers that are very diverse and like to junk fish, this is your time to shine. However, given some of these lakes and their history, patterns can be pretty predominant, on the offshore, stuff like that. But we're not quite there yet. We're moving into that, and we're seeing a little bit of unfold in this recent MLF Pro circuit event, or at least I think the Toyota Series event on Chickamauga. Looked like some of those guys were already throwing the big deep water plugs. But hey, we're going to be talking about some post-spawn fishing. We're going to be sharing some of our tips and tricks and techniques for targeting these fish. But want to give you guys a couple of reminders. We are approaching the St. Jude Kayak Open as well as the St. Jude Bass Open. Both of those tournaments are going to be ran in conjunction, but on separate lakes. Kayak Open is going to be held on Enid Lake on the 29th, and the Bass Boat Open or Bass Classic is going to be held on Sardis Lake on both of those the 29th. And you are approaching 5 days out from the deadline to get your mail-in registration for the Kayak Open. And then if you're not able to get it in by that time frame, you can come and see us at the Batesville Civic Center between 1 and 3 p.m. Saturday the 28th, and we will take your money and get you registered. And I wanted to share some exciting news, David. I think I've shared it with you already, but so Corky's Barbecue is stepping in to sponsor the kayak tournament, and they're going to be supplying all you great anglers with a meal after the tournament. So after you're done pedaling and paddling or motoring all over the place, you'll have some Corky's meals sitting there waiting on you. So definitely want to give a big shout out to them. Greatly appreciate them stepping up and doing that for us. So I don't know about you, David, but I wish every tournament had that waiting for us at the
I'm always starving when I come off the water.
Yeah, man. That and hey, meet me at the ramp with a Gatorade. Because I'm the Are you pretty good at drinking water and eating and stuff like that while you're out on the water?
It depends. I have my days that I do a really good job of it. When I do a bass boat tournament with my buddy Mike, I do a great job of it because he hands it to me and says, "Here, do this." Yeah. When I'm in the kayak, it really depends on how stressed I am in the morning, how running late I am in the morning, and whether I have my crap together or not. So as we all know, most of the time it means I don't get to eat or drink.
Yeah. I think that I would probably be more prone or be better at it if I was in a bass boat, because I mean you just got more space to move around. Yeah. You can you're just not as congested with in the space and whatnot, and how much crap you can carry with you. So I've got my little cooler that is now hanging off the back of my chair. That's what it's come to.
Well, I don't even use a cooler most of the time anymore. What I typically do is I freeze 3 or 4 bottles of water, and I just throw them in the back of the Hobie Outback, and I hope I can reach them.
Right. Yeah. And if you can't, we'll just we'll hydrate afterwards.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, it's bitten me in the rear plenty of times though, because I've come off the water, especially during the summer.
Yeah,
I mean that's no brainer, but just feeling like completely exhausted. I think I've been staying around in groups, with you and other people hanging out talking, and I'm just like a zombie. I'm like I need a shower, about a gallon of water, and I need rest.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a very mentally and physically tasking sport when you in the kayak fishing game. So, but hey, West Tennessee Bass Kayakers, man, they got a pretty cool tournament going on this weekend. I hate that I'm gonna miss this because this was the one that I was really looking forward to when they dropped the schedule. And for anybody that's unaware, they're doing a conjunction, kind of a midway, I guess the mid Tennessee River section between Kentucky Lake and Pickwick. So from the 40 bridge on the Kentucky Lake side to Pickwick Dam, those are the boundaries. And this is new territory, new boundaries for, I think, any kind of kayak tournament. I know the Clarksville guys, they fish a lot of Kentucky Lake, and they kind of break it up into different sections and whatnot a lot of times. But I don't think they've ever done that before down that low.
Yeah.
So, what do you? What's your thoughts on that? I honestly, personally, I've never fished that stretch. I know you probably got some time there. What do you think these guys can expect to see for that particular event?
I think that's going to be an interesting tournament. I mean, especially since you can fish Pickwick or that section. That section can be tough, but that section encompasses some pretty good sections of the river. Will somebody go below the dam at Pickwick? I mean, there's some sections there around Savannah that are really, really good. My brother-in-law sent me a picture of a 4-pounder he caught at Parable this weekend. So I mean, there's a lot of good fish up and down through there. So I mean, this could be a fun one. I would have loved to have fished that one. Of course, we're going to be at Broken Bow, Oklahoma for the Hobie event instead. But
that's right.
I'm looking forward to that event as well. So I mean, but I think we'll see some good fish caught. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. What's going on, Seth? Mark Davis in the comments. Glad to see you guys joining in tonight. Yeah, I agree. It's there's a lot of new opportunities, a lot more creeks and stuff like that. The Beach River actually dumps into that area of the Tennessee River, and there's some juicy looking stuff. Let me ask you this. I think you and I have talked about it a little bit, but is the vegetation, is there more, or is it more predominant down that area, or was basically all of that killed off as well when the Kentucky Lake started?
I don't think it's as predominant down there as it used to be, and really from 40 Bridge south, there's so much more current there that there hasn't been as much vegetation there, because you got a lot more current up and down through there. But in those backwaters, you can find it.
Yeah, backwater. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. A lot of times this time of year, I'm fishing the current stuff. I mean, because we're getting into that post-spawn period. Although I caught a ton of fish this weekend up around Paris that still had not spawned out. So I mean, I'm pretty dang sure they were still trying to get up in the bushes and waiting on that water level to come up. I mean,
look, this is an odd spring. I don't recall there being pollen still floating around in the air this late.
Yeah.
Into spring.
Right.
I mean, dude. I mean, every day I just wash my truck. Every day I go out and I got pollen all over my truck still. Not as much, but it's still there. It's still in the air.
Well, I tell you what, on Saturday running around, I was shivering. So
yeah,
when we would go, I would catch a chill every freaking time. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, we're just now kind of, breaking into that, real summer, weather. I mean, it's going to be 90s all week. I was in the garage rigging up for Broken Bow, and I'm just standing there. I'm breaking out in a sweat. So that's, that humidity and that heat, the summer heat is definitely starting to set in. But yeah, I think that it could really be a great tournament, for those guys fishing at WTBY. I'm looking forward to seeing the results from that. They had a pretty good little tournament out at Browns Creek this past, was it last weekend? I think no, maybe 2 weekends ago.
2 weeks ago.
But yeah, guy caught 60-something inches in the first 30 minutes, and typical Browns fashion, you either caught him real early and maybe picked up a couple here and there throughout the day, or it just completely died off for you. But
Yeah.
I was having this discussion, with Ashley, and we talked about Browns Creek a lot, and that lake is just. And it was really awesome to see, because WTY, they had about 30 plus anglers show up to that tournament, and quite a few new faces from what I saw in the pictures, or at least a handful. So that's pretty awesome to see. But I think it's going to get to a point if a lot of these anglers stick around and start becoming regulars. That little lake, man, is here's an idea that I had, and of course I'm not a director, but just something that I thought would maybe be cool. Those little gym lakes that we like to go to, let that be like a big bass tournament, and everybody that caught a 20-inch plus fish, in the previous year, they go and they have a big bass, splash, whatever you want to call it, on that lake, and and basically the winner is, whoever comes out with the biggest fish.
Right.
MLF has something like that. I don't really know all the rules with their heavy hitters. Yeah, there's heavy hitters, but no, that'd be something cool, because I mean it's one of those lakes you can go out there, you can catch a really big fish or a couple of really big fish, but then after that, you're going to be lucky to get a 14, 15 incher. But anyways, yeah, Broken Bow coming up this weekend for Hobie Bass Open Series. You're going to be heading down Thursday, getting some practice, and then I'm going to be showing up Friday night. My PTO is expended, so we're just going to go out there. But I like Clear Lakes, man. It kind of sets up real well for doing some offshore brush pile fishing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
That's
just got to find
it. April last year.
Yeah. So what was that?
That's the way it was won last year in April. I mean, they were doing some offshore stuff, live scoping, doing some of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there's definitely gonna be some of that.
They say the water's a little high, so it might be a good shallow water bite too. So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to getting down there and checking it out.
I'm hoping that topwater bite is on fire, man. I got a couple of baits rigged up for that.
I did not catch a single fish on a topwater at Kentucky Lake this weekend. I was very disappointed, and believe you me, I threw it.
Oh yeah. Well, what were you catching most of your fish on? If you
bait in the Texas rig.
Gotcha. Did you get into your little area?
I did. We left there with the limit at 7:30 on Saturday, and left them alone because we didn't want to harp on them too much. Went to 3-4 other areas, caught fishing 2 of the 4. Upgraded a couple of times, and then Sunday we went back in there, and I had 5 bites by 8 o'clock, and I only landed 1 of the 5. My partner landed 1 in there, and then we went to another area after that and landed 2 more, and I just could not put it together. I just couldn't do it. So we ended up losing by 0.14 pounds, so basically 2 ounces, which some of those fish in there were eating on a shad spawn apparently, because those spinnerbait fish we caught that morning coughed up some 4, 5, 6 inch shad, which any one of those would have put us over what we needed to win the tournament.
Yeah. Tape those mouths shut.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I did notice that they had spit them up till I went back to the live well afterwards after handing my partner the fish, and I looked back down in to pull the plugs, and I'm like, there's like 3 of them. I mean, just big ones. I'm like, what the heck? Couldn't y'all just keep one of them in your throat?
Right. Yeah. Well, it happens. Guess it just wasn't you guys' time, but I mean, it's good to hear that Kentucky Lake is fishing good.
Fishing well. A lot of limits on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, with it, like we're talking about here, this being kind of a little bit of a late spring. If you guys missed the show last week between myself and Jimmy Washam, he talked quite a bit about this as well. It just being kind of a weird spring. Everything's just kind of happening a little bit later. Like you said, still got pollen in the air and everything. So, I definitely suspect that an angler can go out this weekend on Kentucky Lake, Pickwick area, and pretty much do what he wants. He or she wants, and put a limit of fish in the boat. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye out on that WTB Wild tournament. What's up, Big Dave? Hey man, how you doing? But hey, we're gonna talk a little bit about this about post spawn, kind of this transition. And we're gonna be kind of using a little bit of Navionics here, just kind of give you guys a little bit of a reference and stuff like that. But you mentioned the shad spawn, David. The shad spawn is one of those things that it's kind of there's some textbook things that you can look for. Your rock, your bluff banks, your seawall, stuff like that. But in your opinion, if someone wanted to go out and they wanted to find that shad spawn, is it one of those things for you in your experience that you've actually put together a plan of how you're going to go out and find it, or is it one of those types of things that it just kind of seems like you stumble across?
Most of the time it's something I kind of stumble across. I mean, you get into an area because you're looking for that hard edge, you're looking for grass, which is what they were, at Eufaula. Then at Kentucky Lake, I saw it twice in the grass. They just need that something that they can kind of be rubbing up against along with the other shad. And so you're always looking for that little something. But, I mean, it's really, dude, I mean, they move. I mean, they're not always in the same place. Wind kind of takes some, if you find them on a shad spawn in one place on day one, they weren't there on Sunday morning. I mean,
right.
They were there Saturday morning, but Sunday morning they were somewhere different. I don't know where they went. I don't know if they were further down the grass, further down the lake that we just didn't get down to them on Sunday morning, or where they had gone to, but they were not there Sunday morning when we got there. So it's crazy. So I mean, but they can move around. So really, it's one of those things. You get into an area, you just need to be looking, and I've always talked about this. You need to be cognizant of what's going on around you, and be looking for those little shad flickering here or there, because where they are is where the bass are going to be. I mean, they just follow them around. So,
except for at Eufaula.
Follow around a little bit at Eufaula. At least I'm in there.
I had to harp on that just for a second. I'm not still sour about it. I'm over it, but
no,
it's definitely
sure you
are. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my experience as well. It definitely seems like one of those things that you just kind of stumble on. But I would definitely say if you pay attention, like you said, to the wind. So if you got an east wind, a southeast wind, it's blowing up against those west banks. If that's happening for a couple of days, then that's probably a good place to go and look. It's just it gets everything moving to that side of the lake. Not to say that everything is on that side of the lake. I don't want to throw out something that's going to confuse people, but it's definitely a good area to look because that side of the lake has been, has been stirred up. It pushes all the plankton, everything over there to that side, and that area of the lake is just stirred up. But the wind could shift, throughout the day and start blowing the opposite direction, and the same thing could happen for the other side. Not so much of a shad spawn, midday, but it definitely gets things stirred up, but definitely something to be on the lookout for. And if you had to one bait or two baits, that you're going to target that shad spawn with, what's your go-tos?
I mean, personally, my go-tos are typically going to be a spinnerbait in the topwater. I know another popular bait is a white colored swim bait or swim jig. Depending on what you're fishing around, or swim bait. I mean, that's the most common ones. But me personally, I like that spinnerbait. I like, I can feel the thump, but I can feel the shad bumping up against it. And when you feel those shad bumping up against it, you know you're in the right place. And you can do the same thing with the swim jig. You can do the same thing with swim bait. But to me, those are a couple of those really good ones. And I'll throw a top water around that sometimes too. And the top water thing is something I just feel like I get really good quality bites on that top water. Yeah. I'm not looking to catch numbers with it. I'm looking for that one or two really good kickers.
Yeah.
And that's something I'll throw a lot around it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely like a spinnerbait. I like that lipples too. I like to throw it past it, let it fall up underneath it and just kind of burn it up underneath the shad, because sometimes when I throw something just straight through the middle of it, it seems like it disperses them off, it breaks them up, and then the bass, kind of start chasing them as well. So sometimes I try to go with something that's not, first off, it's going to be up underneath them. That's not going to break them up as much. And if I don't get bit on that, then I'll do the same, top water, something like that. But man, a lot of times it doesn't really matter what you have in your hand. I've thrown a flipping jig through the middle of the shad spawn and caught them black and blue.
Well, I started my little Texas rig call bug and catching some this week. Doing that. Right around those same fish. It's something you drag underneath though. So
yeah. There's always the textbook stuff, but then there's just when fish are going crazy and they're eating. Hey, look, there's something that looks tasty. They're not thinking, hey, that's not a shad. I'm on the shad spawn right now. It looks tasty. I'm gonna go eat it.
Yep.
So if you're in that situation, throw that out there just to say, if you're ever in that situation where you don't have the textbook lures tied on, man, throw anything through that shad spawn. Oftentimes you will catch that biggest fish in there, because then it just boils down to, that biggest fish going to be that, the most aggressive one. And, it's, me first type deal.
Yeah.
I want to bring up Pickwick Lake. I'm going to kind of give guys a couple references as to where have personally found some shad spawns and stuff, and just kind of what's going on with these particular spots. And David, if you got something you want me to look at as well, then we can, I'll navigate to those. Here we go.
I'm sure probably anywhere you pull up, I've probably done something around there.
All right. So Pickwick Lake, the Avionics app, a lot of places, a lot of time, this, I really like this, this section of the river, it's no brainer. A lot of people like it.
Yeah.
Of course, after Memorial Day or even now, this whole section up through here is just blown out with, the pleasure boaters and whatnot. But let me, where am I? Let me get my bearings here. Okay. No, let me get my bearings. Where are my bearings? Okay, here we go. All right. So Natchez Trace Bridge area. Some of these little, I really like to go down this stretch a lot of times in the morning. Around Cogar Island. But so before I make my way over to the Cogar Island area, I usually come down this side. It's always still shade. It's got a lot of overhanging brush. It's a bluff wall, and you see the real tight contour lines and everything. Mm-hmm. And this little creek channel that comes out through here, you got a little. Oftentimes you have a little bit of dirtier water mixed in, flowing in from back here. I don't think anytime there's ever been rain, this little creek is always dirty, and you can sometimes get up in there and catch, really, one or two good ones. But around these little points and stuff, along these bluff wall banks, you've got different type of, rock, shelf rock, chunk rock, stuff like that. And I don't necessarily know if it's, the type of rock composition that attracts them, or if it's that there's overhanging rock that they can kind of get up underneath and stuff like that. It just seems, I would think it just kind of that tight and clear of being up underneath some kind of overhanging rock and stuff like that may attract them to those little particular spots. But it's been really specific, like, on these little points and stuff. But even, just out here on this flat, this is a pretty shallow flat and whatnot, where where they will just, the currents flowing this way, and they just they're spawning, just doing their thing, just going all the way down the spank. So, overnight, these fish, the shad, they come up out of the deeper water, especially after a really bright, bluebird sky day when they're, out a little bit deeper and stuff, suspended, whatnot. They come up to these shallow flats, and they start really doing, that's when they are spawning and stuff is overnight. So, that's why you really only see it happening, that shad spawn, for just a short, brief, time frame in the morning, is because it's predominantly taking place overnight. So, what I like to do is I like to just, look for areas that is going to have the shade with some kind of rock and grass, and traditionally there's typically a lot of grass and stuff like that in this area. You got a little hump right here and whatnot. If you can get into an area that's going to stay shaded a lot longer than the rest of the lake, then, that shad spawn can last, a little bit longer. But that's just one little spot, real off the wall type deal. Of course, river channel swinging up here again. So that's just one little example. Probably better if I pulled up on Google Earth, but I'm not going to go that route. Dave, you got somewhere you want to give an example of?
I can show you just a quick. I mean, I can just tell you a quick example.
Sure.
Any of the marinas, anywhere you have boat docks, a boat dock is a favorite. Especially with they have those floating pontoons and stuff, because those floating pontoons are typically black. They typically are warmer, and it gives them that hard structure that they can be kind of maneuvering up against, and they can kind of pin each other against and all that. Great area to fish for a shad spawn.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I might get shot for even mentioning that by a couple of different people that I know, but but that's a great place. I mean, any kind of
So there ain't no secrets anymore.
There ain't no secrets anymore. But so that's a great kind of area to look for, and and any other, seawalls. That's another. You think about Pickwick. There are a crap ton of seawalls on Pickwick, and that is a excellent area to look for a shad spawn.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the old boys that beat me this weekend, they were on a roadbed, and that's what they caught their fish. They caught their fish on a shad spawn first thing that morning. Throwing a square bill and throwing a buzzbait.
Yeah. That's a bite that I'm looking forward to. Well, not looking forward to. I've already caught some on it, but that buzzbait bite, man. Whew.
Yeah, I've been on my little popper bite already this year. I've caught quite a few on popper already, which everybody knows that's one of my favorites. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know another popper guy.
Yeah. But, Mr. Trent likes that one too.
Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about the transition, the movement. One thing, in addition to the shad spawn, you have your shad that spawn first, and then after that you have your your brim or your bluegill that start spawning, and you have the fish that hang around, that will hang around the shallow water areas, just because the grass is starting to grow. That habitat is really starting to set in and stuff. Some of these areas in the back of these creeks on Pickwick and well, not Kentucky Lake, but Pickwick, that have that grass starting to grow in. Yeah, there's no grass on Kentucky Lake.
Oh, no, it never occurred.
No, never. But they're going to hang out around that stuff, because those brim, those bluegill are starting to move in. Those are great areas to be paying attention to. Points are also kind of a sneaky area that a lot of people don't really think about, for where bluegill and brim and stuff like that spawn on. I have oftentimes looked on previous years on Google Earth and found areas where the brim beds are just nuts, on points where the water levels were low, and you can go in there and those areas will oftentimes hold up, throughout the summer, because they're main lake. Those bass can, you'll have bluegill spawning for quite a few weeks, maybe even a month or two, and And, and those bass will move up on those brim beds and stuff like that, all throughout the summer, looking for those little brim and bluegill and whatnot. So definitely some places to look. Just stuff like that kind of puts into context, I think, you give me your thoughts, David, just as to why we do some of the things that we do, why points. I mean, structure and stuff like that, of course, but there's a lot more to it. Kind of once you unfold the book and it start diving into a little bit more into understanding, why these fish hang out in these areas and stuff like that. So like brim beds on points and stuff like that, it's just one of those little clues, one of those little tidbits that a lot of people just kind of overlook.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something that's not really commonly known is brim will actually spawn every full moon in this area from about May till September. And so that's why you really, they used to have the Forest Wood Cup over on Lake Ouachita in August, and they used to plan it around the full moon every year, and it would be one shallow most of the time by guys hunting wolf packs. Those big bass that were up shallow, raiding bluegill beds, raiding red ear beds. Looking for them nice fat bluegill to eat. And because that's a nice meal as opposed to like a thin little skinny shad. So
yeah, exactly. You get a little bit more return on your investment with that.
Exactly. So but and you were mentioning points. What are a lot of our points in this area composed of? Gravel.
Yep.
Why are the pea gravel points on Pickwick so good during a full moon? Because brim are bedding on those pea gravel points during full moons. And I'll ignore pea gravel a lot of times outside of the full moon, but I don't ignore it when there's a full moon out, because that is the one time that I know there's going to be some bass looking, and they're going to be chasing.
Yeah.
So there's some good opportunity there to catch some really good ones.
Yep. That's a great opportunity for, jig or something like a shaky head or wobble head with some kind of creature bait on it, something like that.
Yep.
If it's shallow enough, you can get that, that square bill down in there, banging around and stuff. So a lot of different baits, when those bass are up there feeding, when they're up there looking for a meal, oftentimes, man, they'll bite whatever's coming at them. So, but one of my favorites, I love dragging like a football head or that wobble head, because a lot of times those shell beds, stuff like that are mixed in around those bluegill beds, and man, you just feel it. That wobble head's just tinking over the top of those shell beds and down in those bluegill beds and stuff, and then that's when those big fish just engulf it, and that's when you get that really big thump. So
yeah, one of the BFLs I won as a co-angler, that's what I was throwing. And every one of those bites that day, it was just like a hard just. And the line go moving. It's like,
your line goes slack, yeah.
Oh, yep, great size.
Yeah, just hold on to that one for a second before you start reeling. Yeah.
I probably should have done a little bit more of this weekend. Now that I have to sit here and think about it for 2 seconds. But anyway, we won't. Yeah.
My little pond back here has been coming alive these past few days.
I saw a picture. Was that big fish? I saw a picture of you and your daughter with on that little pond.
Yeah, caught one bigger than that too.
There's some big ones in there. They're hard to catch, but there's some big ones in there.
Well, I have made numerous comments to my wife, like I don't like going back there. Well, it has a lot of that netting and stuff like that from the sod and stuff when they built this area. So you can't really. I was talking to another guy walking around out there. I was like, man, I made the mistake of bringing a jackhammer out here one day. At first cast, I lost that thing in the netting.
I have two of them on that stupid lake.
Yeah, they've actually gone through and they've put some rock, some boulders and stuff like that around the bank, mostly for erosion, but it's covered up a lot of that netting and stuff. So it's helped out quite a bit. But it's just one of those types of ponds that it's going to fish really well right now, just because shad are spawning and
Right.
they're all, the bass are all post spawn for the most part, but so they're real active.
I've been out there in the fall when you can see those schools of shad out there, and you'll just see like a group of bass come up and just start eating them, and it's it's all 3 to 4 pounders. It's just
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're freaking 100 yards out there. I don't care what rod and reel you have. There ain't no way you're getting a bait to them.
No, no, yeah, it bugs the crap out of me because I see that all the time. Like, man, even during the winter, I think I mentioned this to you. Even during the winter, there's just so many shad in that lake that they'll be out there in 40-degree water temps, swirling on the surface and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah. So there's not a very large population of bass in there, but there's definitely some good ones.
Yeah.
But so let's kind of let's transition through, outside of the shallow bite and stuff like that, and when things kind of start getting a little bit more tough for the shallow water guys. And there's always going to be bass shallow, not taken away from that. But, in our area, the lakes we know that we fish a lot, Pickwick, Kentucky Lake, stuff like that, they get out there and, and even lakes like Ouachita. And there's a lot of differences between a Ouachita and Pickwick. What clarity definitely plays a huge role in how fast, these bass will get out there in deeper water and stuff like that, as well as water temperature and stuff. But, that really kind of starts diving into the sight feeding capabilities with that clear water versus, lateral line feeding and stuff like that a lot of times, because they can look up 30 feet and, see that top water plug plopping around and make a mad dash for it, and then dip back down. But, one of the things that I, have learned a lot about over the years that's, is using the same kind of methods to locating bass that in post spawn as you do in the pre spawn. And I know you're not a big offshore guy, but I know you know these lakes. I know you know the areas and stuff and the patterns and whatnot. And one of the big things I think as anglers is when a lot of times we kind of compartmentalize patterns into specific seasons. And okay, well. Everybody's saying, I should follow the creek channels into the coves and stuff like that, in the pre-spawn. And, these fish, they're not very complex creatures. They're going to use the same type of stuff moving back out as they do moving in. Now, I don't think I do think kind of the rate at which they transition through these areas can be more expedited on the way out versus the way in, because on the way in you got a lot of weather changes and stuff like that, going from really cold weather to a little bit warmer weather, and then cold fronts moving through and stuff like that. So creek channel swings and all that kind of stuff, they may hold up in some areas a little bit longer on the way in versus the way out, because once you get past the spawn, then everything really, the water levels, the water temperatures and whatnot, really become more consistent, and there's not a lot of changes going on. And there's also the influx and the increase in boating pressure and whatnot. So that can expedite, the rate at which, they move back out a little bit deeper. But, Dave, what's one thing that you're fishing most whenever you kind of determine, like, okay, a lot of these fish are post spawn, it's kind of time to start looking for those post spawn fish?
So I'm typically going to look. I mean, in summertime, I'm going to look for. We all know I'm a shallow water guy. I'm going to look for that shallow water stuff that's going to keep some fish around. But I'm going to look for those first little places where they can go to. I think one of the other things that expedites fish moving out of the shallows too, and Kentucky Lake is a prime example. Those fish love to spawn in the bushes. So they're waiting on water to come up. So like Kentucky Lake goes to 350, 361 in the next couple of weeks, couple of days, you're going to have fish pull out. But as soon as they start sucking that back down to 359, what are those fish going to do? That's going to expedite them further out that much quicker. But so what I'm going to look for is those crappie mats in that 8 to 10 foot range. Those places where those bass can pull out to from that spawning flat and find readily available food. I mean, that's what they're looking for. They have a brain the size of a pea. What really irritates me is when I get beat by a fish that has a brain the size of a pea. Makes me feel like maybe mine's about that same size sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that readily available. So I look for those crappie mats out in 8, 10 foot of water. I look for that channel swing up next to a point. That's somewhere where that fish can just slide down, slide up, slide down, slide up. If I can find that shallow water area, find that boat dock. I mean, there's a lot of fish that will transition into boat docks and they'll stay there all year. So I mean, it's just finding that something that you're comfortable with. But June is one of my worst months, and that's because those fish all pull pretty deep in June a lot of times, while they kind of recover, feed up on shad out there in deeper water, and then you'll begin. And that's also where, as that water warms, like right now, we got all these freaking 90-degree temperatures for the next week. That shallow water is going to deplete oxygen really, really fast right now, unless it has water pouring into it, which is another reason to look for current right now. So, right. So it's going to deplete that oxygen in that shallow water really, really quick. But what happens in July is in June, you're going to see on your graph, when you're graphing around, you'll see that hard stratification line. It's going to be somewhere between 8 and 12, 8 and 24 here.
Yeah.
And that's your thermocline. And that's where those fish are going to transition to as best they can. So, but come July, what happens? That water temperature now is just as warm or closer to warm down deeper as it is shallow, and that oxygen content begins to level out. Yeah. And so that's where we're going to start to see fish begin to move back shallow again, really come July. Which is why July is one of my more favorite types of fish.
Yeah, it kind of starts to flip-flop a little bit, and that's when you get on that, you can really start targeting those laydowns and stuff like that along the bank line. They're going to really get up, really use that kind of cover for, ambush points and stuff like that. But it also provides a lot of shade. I mean, it's just a great habitat for them. But it's like you said, that comfortable, depth and water temperature with the oxygen levels that they need to survive. But hey, we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. We'll be right back with this conversation on post-spawn fishing.
This podcast is proudly powered by Battle-Born Batteries. Let the power of lithium take you on your journeys across the outdoor world. Battle-Born Batteries designs and assembles the industry's top choice for lithium-ion batteries right here in the USA. Reliable, safe, and long-lasting, Battle-Born makes for the sustainable and lightweight drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries. Ready to make the switch to lithium and the switch to green energy? All batteries are in stock now. Shop today at battlebornbatteries.com.
Alrighty, we're back. David has taken a siesta, it looks like, for a second. We'll be back. It's really awesome. This kayak fishing stuff, man. I just had a ton of fun doing it. I have conversations with guys all the time about fishing out of a kayak, and it's unbelievable just kind of what you can do in these boats. We're talking a lot about fishing offshore and stuff like that, and I've gotten some of the craziest looks from people being out in the middle of Kentucky Lake and stuff in my little plastic boat. But man, I know, David, you've been having a lot of fun with it. I've been trying to tell my dad, not trying to convert him, but just trying to convince him, like, dude, these things are really awesome, man. You can get out there and do whatever you want. But you guys, if you have any concerns, if you're interested in kayak fishing, if you're interested in getting into one of these things and seeing what they're capable of, man, go up and see David at the store. He's got the Hobies, he's got the Jacksons. He got a lot of a great wide array of options for you to choose from for whatever for whatever your needs are. But I would definitely say, it's worth looking into if you want to experience it. If you're concerned, well, I really like to do this, I like to do that, man, just get in one of these things. It's crazy just how stable they are, especially especially the pro anglers and the Outbacks. I mean, they're just unbelievable. So
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of great boats in the store. I mean, the Outbacks, the pro anglers. I got a bunch of new ones in this week.
pro anglers.
I got a Pro Angler 360 and a 14 and a 12. It just came in this week. Seagrass green. I got some more 14s with the 180s. I got Lynxes in.
Nice.
For those guys that want that really lightweight boat. We got passports and compasses. We got a little everything in this week. I got 18 boats Monday. So, but we also have new canoes and the Unlimiteds and the Frontiers. I've got a Unlimited rigged out right now with an NK 180 on the back with the steering and everything, and then I have a Frontier already pre-rigged out with a XI3 with spot lock. So I mean, you can basically come get a boat. You don't want to paddle? You don't want to paddle? Fine, I can fix that. We got it all covered for you. We can put a NK 180 on the back of an Outback if you want it. It won't take no time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different stuff we can do, so we can rig a boat out.
Now let me ask you this: we're both Hobie guys, but I gotta give props to this new Jackson they came out with. What is that thing called, man? Do you have one on order yet, or do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't have. I forgot the name of it. You're gonna have to make me look now.
Oh, it's the NAR FD. Yeah.
The RFD. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Let's pull this deal out, man. This is a pretty cool boat.
It's a neat little boat. I don't have any ordered yet. They right now they are so far behind. I don't really have a whole lot of Jacksons even coming in right now.
Yeah.
But this is a neat new little piece. I need to talk to my rep and see if I can even get one in here just so I can show it to people. But they've rigged it out pretty well. Trying to pull it up.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on solo so we can get a good. Sorry. Here we go.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah, I really like what they did with the compartments on here. The storage, got your battery storage back here and stuff like that. You got your front hatch up here. They did a little bit of Hobie stealing here with the built-in rod tubes, but I like that, man. I think I think that just needs to be standard on any kind of upper end, high end, fishing kayak for the guy or the gal that's looking for a very competitive, capable kayak. I mean, if you want to carry 12 rods, you can put 6 in here. You can put 6 back here behind you. Yeah. It opens up a lot of options for you. And apparently the pedal drive doesn't make as much noise or any noise. I guess we'll see as they start making their way out to the field with the anglers and whatnot. But it's supposed to be a much better design. I like the whole design. It looks like it is going to disperse the water away from the kayak up here on the bow. Yeah. Yep. So that's pretty cool. But let's see, what is it? Is this a 14 foot? Yeah, 14 feet, 13.9, width 37 inches, and got good carrying capacity, 475 pounds, and total weight 140. So I mean, it's right there on par with the Pro Angler. I think of course you got the instant reverse with that boat versus
having pull switch, but
yeah, pull cord with the 180 or the handle on the 360. Yeah. So pros and cons of both boats. They're both very great boats. This is a great option. I like how it comes already pre-molded with the bolt holes right here for a Torqeedo or an NK 180 or power pole on the stern. So, and it looks like, see right here as well. It looks like it has the built-in mold for running your steering lines for your motor.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
That was probably kind of hard to see on the screen, but yeah, man, cool little boat. Another little option coming out for anybody looking for another boat. But yeah, we're talking about post spawn fishing and whatnot. We've been talking about the shad spawn, the brim and the bluegill spawn, and some of these areas to be looking in, to target these fish. And we're gonna get kind of down into the, here's the thing, we in this area, when we think post spawn, we automatically relate it to current, just because that's just what we fish the Tennessee River a lot, and that's what's talked about a lot around here. But I'm glad that you mentioned the channel swing banks and stuff like that, because that's not always the current and stuff like that is not always the case on most lakes. Most lakes don't have that kind of current flowing through them that can really position fish on those main river ledges and stuff, or main lake ledges. And I'm talking like main lake out of the pockets and whatnot, like you see with the Tennessee River. Tennessee River offshore fishing is a lot different than offshore fishing, in my opinion. A lot of the same type of structure and cover is used, but when you get into places like Ouachita and Eufaula and stuff like that, that doesn't have that a massive amount of current flowing through it that is centralized. Then what you oftentimes have is brush pile fishing. It becomes a really big deal. Fishing shell beds, and then also fishing for suspended fish. But they still use the hard bottom and all that kind of stuff and get positioned on that a lot, but just not it's not always the same, at least in my experience, as it is fishing the Tennessee River. And that's why the Tennessee River has such a great the reputation that it does for getting out there and getting on these giant schools, is because it puts these fish in those areas where they're getting out of the current or getting in the current, on those current breaks, like current facing points and whatnot. But David, I know you're not much of an offshore fisherman, but what do you look for? You mentioned the crappie beds and stuff like that, but when all that spells for David, as a shallow water angler, when the bite is really tough for you, do you resort to the offshore at all? Do you get out there and scan with your Lowrance and look for those brush piles? Or
I will if I have to. I mean, it's not my comfort zone, and it's something I've always preached to everybody: is fish what you're comfortable with. Do I do it if I have to? Sure, I do. I've done it numerous times. That area around Eva Beach, on Kentucky Lake, Danville at Kentucky Lake, I'll get out there on ledges there and catch fish if I need to. Do I like doing it? No, it's not my cup of tea, frankly. But I can do it. I get out there with a drop shot. I mean, I've caught fish out in front of Panther on Pickwick on a drop shot. I've caught fish in the mouth of Bear on a drop shot. Will I get out there and do it? Sure. Occasionally you have to. You don't have any choice. I mean, there's times that, Sunday we had those high bluebird skies at Kentucky Lake, and I probably should have spent a little time doing some stuff offshore, but I hadn't really researched it at all during the week, so I really didn't have any good solid basis of where to go. So I mean, I continued to do what I did, and I should have, and we still should have had a 12 to 15 pound bag on Sunday. I just didn't put fish in the boat, so that's just part of it. But yeah, I mean, sure, I'm more than happy to go do it if I have to. But I won't if I don't have to. So
if I have the choice, I definitely don't want to.
Sure. We don't always have that choice in life, do we?
You're right. If you want to win, you got to do what you got to do to put fish in the boat. I mean, offshore fishing, I mean, it takes time. It's versus shallow water fishing, you can very quickly identify, what you want to fish. If you're looking for wood or rock or whatever the case may be, or grass, you can very quickly identify those areas that have that just by looking on Google Earth, or based on your experience and stuff like that on the lake. With offshore fishing, you got to really invest a lot more time into, getting out there and scanning and, looking for all that stuff. And, we all seen the FLW tournaments. I mean, these guys will designate entire days just as, actually all 3 days of fishing, pre-fishing, just to scan, those ledges and look for those, for those schools. And that is one of the hardest things mentally to really, wrap your head around, is just, knowing that, and at that level, you're not out there as a weekend getaway. Your fishing is, what you do for a living. So you don't have the other side of it, which is the gratification or the satisfaction of getting out there and catching fish and, just fulfilling your itch to, rich on a couple in practice. I mean, you're basically just getting out there and doing what you got to do to make money and put some food on the table. But, even if you're a BFL guy or Toyota Series guy, whatever, or weekend club tournament angler, if you want to win, a lot of times it's what it takes is to get out there and invest the time into scanning around and looking for them. It's not always easy, but I enjoy doing it sometimes, out of my kayak, but I definitely can't cover the same water as other people can. But so for me, that's why I wanted to ask that question, as kayak anglers, for me, what I'm going to resort to is I'm probably going to resort to fishing laydowns and stuff like that. If I can't, I know it's still kind of shallow, but I'm probably going to look for a little bit, deeper water laydowns and whatnot and just really pick them clean. Yep. But, if I don't have the time to go look for offshore stuff or and the shallow stuff is not working for me, then it's hardwood for me. I'm going to go flipping all day.
Yeah, and the other thing you can go do is like I said earlier, you can go fish. You can go fish boat docks because they're suspended over 10 to 20.
Oh yeah, boat docks.
Yeah. Those fish are gonna be there. It's not something that they're gonna leave alone. You can go. Or just look for those. Another really really common thing that people have fished a lot you see a lot over the last 15 years is bridge spans and those kinds of things, and where you have rock that goes straight off 20 foot. Right off the edge of the road. Those fish are just going to transition up and down. It's just a factor of figuring out where on that road bed or on that rock they are. So, looking for that little something different that holds them.
Definitely. Well, David, we're coming up on an hour. You got anything that you would like to share?
Come out. See us
going on the store
this weekend. I won't be here, but the crew will be here. We got a lot of Hobies to look at. We got a lot of NuCanoe to look at. There's a lot of, we just added Blackstone griddles in the store, all the accessories that go with those. We got all kinds of Father's Day stuff getting put out right now. We got some new rods and reels from Toadfish out of South Carolina. Some neat little inshore / freshwater stuff there. Really great quality stuff. What else? New look to the store. Actually, we've kind of consolidated the two stores. We've got kayak stuff extended all the way back into the tackle shop now. There's no cash register in the tackle shop anymore. We're doing all that through the front cash registers here at SY. So a lot of changes going on there. You're going to see some new products coming in. You're going to see some product mix changes. Probably won't see as much in 2022, but come 2023, you're going to see some big differences, I think. So we got some plans in place to make some huge changes for the tackle shop side of the store and for the kayak side of the store. So we're working on some neat stuff. So
sounds
keep
good.
checking it out. Went out. 8 o'clock.
There goes your lights. All right, guys. Well, it's been great talking to you all tonight, talking a little bit about fishing. Hope to see some big bags from the WTBY guys fishing this weekend and everybody else. Man, post up some pictures on our Facebook page here. We want to see you. We want to see you out there on the water, see what you're catching. Share your experiences with us. We definitely want to see you. And thank you all for watching again. And we're gonna sign out, guys. You guys take care and see you.